if you want to get lots of layers and lots of interest into a print, then think about using layers of transparent colour and not always, like I used to do, reaching for the opaque paints. Hi everyone, welcome back, or welcome to the channel if this is your first time. It's lovely to have you here with me, and I'd like to make a warm welcome to all of those new subscribers who've recently come on board. I hope you enjoy what you're going to see today. Now today we're going to talk about layers. Those of you who come from working with jelly printing on paper, you'll be aware of the great results you can get with layers. It's a slightly different situation with fabric, per usual. And what really interests me is the effects that you can get by layering paints one over the other with a jelly plate print. In terms of the paints we're going to use today, the degree of transparency of the paint, whether it's a fabric paint or an acrylic that you're using, is really important. Paints in general can be described as transparent, which means it's quite see-through. Semi-transparent, obviously, you can partially see through it, not as much as a transparent paint. And an opaque paint hides what's underneath. And I've just shown you a little diagram here of the three symbols that you might also find on a tube of paint that indicates whether it's transparent, semi-transparent or opaque. Not all fabric paints follow that particular system, so there you're going to be looking at your paints for where it says it's transparent or it's opaque. A lot of them do that. Some also say that this is suitable for a lightweight fabric. That's a bit of an indicator that it might also be transparent. What I'm going to be working with today is this 100% polyester cloth. And the main reason I'm working with it, and I think it works well with layers, is that it's very absorbent. Because it's finely woven, it takes up the paint really well. Now, before I go any further, I just thought I'd show you these two pieces that I printed the other day. This one was only using transparent paints, and you can see that it's nice and soft and squishy, or at least I hope you can see that. This one, because there was so little paint left, I decided to lift the print with some normal acrylic paint, and in comparison it's quite stiff. It's not soft and scrunchy like this one at all. It's hard to explain, but it definitely feels thicker and much less fabric-like. For my first sample, I'm going to just print a background and then I'm going to add some layers over the top of it. So I've got some fabric colour here. This is Colour for Light Fabrics. It's a bit hard to know how transparent this is. I think it's reasonably transparent. It's probably semi-transparent. Anyway, I'm going to put some of that out here. And over to my right hand side I've got my piece of cloth, which is where I wipe off all my excess paints and often have some lovely results coming from that. I'm wearing gloves because honestly this fabric is so thin that the paint will come through onto my hands without any problem at all. And I think you can see, because you can see down here where I draw on the paper underneath, that this is transparent. Now I want to move fairly quickly with this. Grab my piece of fabric and get it down over the plate straight away. And I'm just going to use a glass with a flat bottom to make sure that that fabric goes smoothly over the surface of my gel plate. Try not to get any bubbles, certainly try and work any bubbles out. Go right to the edges. Now, one of the advantages of using these transparent paints is that you can often pick up a layer without having to do anything much to it. It works on the thin fabric because the thin fabric is so absorbent. I'm just going to pull that off. So you can see I've got a pretty good print here of this golden yellow colour. Now the next thing I'm going to do with this plate, I'm not going to clean it, I think it's pretty right at the moment, but I am going to take my transparent red colour. I'm going to layer a colour down, and then what I'm going to do, I've got a whole lot of these pieces which are the bits I've cut out of my stencil, so technically they're called masks, and I'm just going to place them on here, and then I'm going to take another print. Now I'm going to have to work fairly fast. These paints can dry out quite quickly, and I want to get my masks on before that happens because I really want to get a nice print off this. Remember, take them right out to the edge. You really want to get as much interest as you can. You can put them together, you can overlap. So many different things you can do with these amazing masks. I might even throw in some totally unrelated shapes like the circles, which are fun. I think we're just about there. So again, I'm going to put my fabric over the top and just try and line it up as best I can. Just drop it down, and again sort of just start smoothing with my hands, but go in with that smooth bottom glass, and you can see already the red's coming through. When you're working with these two, it's generally a really good idea to make sure that you use your fingers to press around those edges so that you get the nicest possible print from them. Right, now as I pull this up, one thing you'll see immediately is the colour changes. So where the red and the yellow have mixed, there's a sort of a reddy orange colour. Now there's actually quite a bit of paint on here and I want to use it, so I'm going to quickly take my bits of stencil material, my masks, off, and depending on what you're doing you might be able to get them to print on another piece of fabric if you've got something nearby, like my little handy dandy clean up cloth. But you want to get those off. Just be careful pulling these masks up. Of course, these are just made from cardboard. They can tear quite easily. And these are all stencils and masks I've made myself. Now, what is happening here is I've still got wet paint underneath where I printed, and you can see some is very clear, some is a bit murky. What I'm going to do is a type of technique where I'm going to take what's called ghost print. So what's left over of the original plate is called the ghost. I'm going to take a clean piece of cloth and I'm going to take a print from here. But what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to let this dry right out, and then I'm going to use my gel medium, and instead of a paint, this is a clear paste, or it's clear when it's dry. I'm going to put that over the top and use that to lift the print onto my fabric, so that all you're going to see are the various shades of the red and yellow that are already on the plate and nothing else underneath. And that's another great way to make a layer, is to use a transparent gel medium to lift your print. So I'm going to leave this for a few more minutes. It's probably going to take another 5 minutes to dry. It's close. This is all still wet up here. The rest of it looks pretty good. And then I'll come back and take my next print. I just want to remind you that the reason why I'm letting this paint dry completely is that if I'd put this gel medium or another type of paint straight on top while it was wet, I'd have just ended up with a big smushy mess. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to, like I would normally print, just print off using gel medium instead of a paint. I'm just grabbing my fabric here, and again just dropping this down onto my plate, and again you can see I'm going to grab my flat bottomed glass and just rub that over, and you can see even through the back of the fabric you can see the shapes. One of the things you really want to do is let this dry underneath the fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some cardboard, I'm going to grab a book, I'm going to grab some heavy weights, and I'm going to put it on top of this fabric, and then I'm going to leave it for at least 15 minutes. Depends how long I get distracted for. And then when I come back and I lift up that plate, it should have picked up everything that was on the plate. Now let's just see how this has worked. I'm just going to lift a corner in case it needs more drying time. We'll see, depend on how well it comes off the plate. No, I think we're pretty right here. One of the things you can do, and sometimes is better, is to actually flip the whole thing over and pull the plate away from the fabric. Puts less strain on the fabric and generally means you'll get as good a print as you can. So this is certainly the sort of print which I print to play with, and often you can get great results from these. So what I'll be doing is I will be taking this print and putting some more colours over it, and you will be able to see the changes, how I'm going to do this. In order to print another colour over the top of this without affecting the background at this stage, what I'm going to have to do is mask off the shape, and this, in this case it's this flower shape, and I'm just going to do that by slipping pieces of just photocopy paper, just to make sure that you don't accidentally print over the top of any other sections of your cloth. I've just got my final piece of paper. So now I've got my shape isolated, ready to be over printed. In order to get this colour printed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with my smallest jelly plate. I'm only going to put a small amount of paint on, and then I'm going to flip the jelly plate over onto the fabric, not the other way around. This is just far too fiddly to do it any other way. So I've got some Shimmer Wine here. It should give me a bit of a colour, not too much. I'm really only going to do this. You could potentially do this by just rolling straight onto your fabric. Just a bit concerned that that gives you a little bit less control. So I'm just going to take this. I can see where it is, and that's the other advantage of gel plates. You can actually see what you're doing. I'm placing that down over the plate, over that section. I'm pressing down, just going to press down with my roller on the back. I'm going to have some entertaining ghost prints, I suspect, by the time I finish this. Remove that so you can see that there's a colour change, and I'm going to just pull that off. And I can go around and do that on all the other pieces that I want to colour in on this piece of fabric. Now, as you've seen, I've already put some more colours down. This is the last colour I'm actually going to put on the plate, so it should add a bit of a pop to that circle. And much as I don't like it, I have taken my gloves off because they were sticking to everything, which meant that the plate kept moving and I kept losing my stencil shape. All I really need to do is just land it on the circle, which I have. Just check to see, yep, that's printed quite strongly. I'm happy with that. Right, now having put my additional colours over my piece of fabric, I'm going to put one layer of colour over everything to bring it together. Now, I don't actually want to lose these colours, so I've reached back into my bag and found all my masks, and I'm going to put those down onto the fabric. I'm going to print over those. On the edges it's not so challenging because I can just grab this painter's tape I've been using and tape it onto the spot. Even if it's only in one place, it's probably going to help it. I don't expect perfection with this. I know things are going to move, but it just means that I can at least get several of these sections taped down, and then when I come in with my plate, that should be rather easier to get the plate onto here. I'm going to be using a semi-transparent colour. This is Manganese blue hue, and it's not a fabric paint, it is a fluid acrylic. So I want the coverage. I do need this to be fairly wet, and I think this is going to be more reliable than that blue fabric paint, which, although I like it, turns out to be, I think, just a bit too old. So in summary, this print, which I must say is my absolute favourite of this particular lot of printing, was a ghost print of this print, and you can see that as laying it over the top. You can see how nicely they fit. So it just goes to show that you never quite know where you're going to end up when you're printing. Given how well this print turned out with all the additional colours printed over the top of it, I'm seriously thinking of doing something similar with this one. I probably would just pick different sections, although that's quite a good section to work on. And you can see there's some other elements like this element which hasn't printed up very strongly here, but is also quite strong there. So I'll have a think and I'll have a play with that one, and we'll see where we end up. So thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this session. I hope you've got something out of it. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. Drop a question in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer you. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.